Thank you so much, Anna, for being a guest today. How are you?
Good, and thank you so much for having me.
I wanted to start off by talking about your career shift. What inspired your move from the printing to automotive industry, and what's that experience been like so far?
Yeah. Um, what really inspired me to go from the printing to the automotive industry was a little bit of my background. I have had some experience with other OEMs and in the automotive marketing industry. So I really wanted to kind of, based on that experience, get back into the automotive industry, just because I have a passion and affinity for transportation, um, specifically. So that transition was really quite interesting. I absolutely loved my time at Walton Press. It was one of the first real experiences I had in a production environment. So moving at a certain pace, really, understanding that production mindset and being in a production facility really has helped me out in this transition back into automotive. Um, which is it's been really interesting and fun. I think I'm 5 months into it now, but I think that production mentality of just kind of understanding the steps of how you really implement something has been a tremendous help in that transition.
What was the biggest marketing challenges you've noticed between the printing and the automotive industry?
Between them both, I think it's just been a really kind of interesting 5 years of experience, from the pandemic to the post-pandemic to recovery. And I think there's a lot of similarities in both industries that we've experienced over the past 5 years, whether it be supply chain issues or labor. Um, Also, what's been interesting is, because of all that, like how much money or resources can people put into marketing has been really kind of interesting. And I think a product of that in both automotive and in printing is people started to get scrappy, with how they were producing content. The content that they, were producing was a little bit more kind of grassroots. And I've seen that crossover from printing to automotive. It's very much kind of a very scrappy time to be in marketing, in both industries.
What marketing skills from your experience in printing have translated into the automotive space?
Yeah, gosh. I'm working on some projects right now, where it's quite a big rollout happening in the next month. So it's been very quick. So what skills? Honestly, what's been really helping me is, I know it may not be a marketing skill, but it's just kind of understanding that production piece, which has been, you know, how how things are printed, how marketing materials are produced, color and integrity. And I have that knowledge base to be able to actually produce some really good materials when I go to these shows. Yeah. I don't know if that's a skill, but it's kind of a knowledge base that I didn't have before. And now I feel so much more confident moving forward with the marketing projects that I do have, just because of that whole experience.
I know, especially at Walton Press, like you were able to just walk out on the floor, see stuff printed, see stuff being, binded into magazines and newspapers. So I kind of understand what you're talking about that on that side. Has that been the same for you at Napa? Like, are you able to see the parts made or the parts like being boxed up at all?
Actually, no. No, the supply chain is I'm not able to see that. Um, but I do know the process, like, of what these, manufacturers are going through. So it makes me a little bit more sensitive to timing.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me sensitive to what we're actually creating. Is it something that can be produced successfully within that time? So yeah, it's just that, I know that sounds silly, but it's just that knowledge of production And then the other piece is really just kind of letting it go and letting your partners do what they need to do and um, trusting them has been a
Right.
really key learning because it's like I got to let them do their job and I have not been disappointed. So, which has
Yeah,
been
that's,
wonderful.
I know not so much in the printing industry, because I've seen a lot of women growing in that industry, because we're in these print shops all across the country. But I was wondering, in the automotive industry, is it more male dominated, and how, like, are you kind of like breaking barriers being in the position you're in? How has that been for you?
Yeah. It's been very interesting at Napa. I'm I'm on a marketing team that the majority of it is of women. So it's kind of really cool to have that environment and work with women um, in the marketing department. However, I'm working on some projects in the motorsports industry, which is uh, very male dominated, as you know. But the really cool thing that I've seen too, and specifically working with the NHRA, is the amount of women who have kind of gone on that journey and done some really amazing things. There's a lot of women drivers in the NHRA right now, and there's even more coming up through the ranks, which has been fascinating. Um, I think on my side too, I love racing and I love automotive marketing. So, and I think one of the blessings too, being in the printing industry, which the company I was with was a little bit more male dominated. I've been in automotive before, so I'm very comfortable working in that environment. And when I need to, challenging uh, decisions that are made or putting my spin on it, I'm not. I guess I have the skill set and the experience to do that, and I'm not afraid to do it, which is fun, but it's very much a give and a take and kind of understanding what everybody's looking for and working towards the best good for the company and really everybody involved to make an impact.
You think of like automotive, like your first thought goes to like male dominated industry, but to have it being, you know, run the marketing side by women, that's awesome to me. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, have some fantastic leadership. The woman leading the charge has been absolutely just amazing to watch. So it just feels kind of like home, I guess, right now. So just been wonderful. Yeah.
So have you always been like interested in the automotive industry? I know you said you were, but like how young were you when you got interested? Like where did that passion and love come from?
Yeah. Gosh, I must have been 16 when it started to click for me. Um, I think it was just kind of going to local car shows and starting to understand what made a car run. Um, I have a huge love for design, and my degree is actually in industrial design. So when I was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? At 15, 16, 17, my dream was to be an automotive designer. I didn't go down that route, but I did go down the industrial design route, which was kind of a parallel path to automotive design. And I've just always been fascinated in transportation and how people and the human factors relate to transportation, whether that's cars or how cars run or how people move through a space. It just always kind of fascinated me, that aspect. So yeah.
That's so cool. So obviously at House Studios, we're a video production and marketing agency, and we lead with storytelling. Um, my question for you on your end is, what role does content marketing and storytelling play in promoting products and services in the auto industry?
Mhm. Yeah, I think the what's been so fascinating and what I love about what you guys do is it's one of the true mediums that you have in a marketing toolbox that communicates emotion and storytelling in the purest form. I think we're in such a digital world right now. There's so many different platforms and avenues to get the content out there, but the most important piece is the good content. It is the story. It is that, stirring emotion that makes people remember your brand. It makes them take the next step, and give you a call or engage with you. And it's such a vital piece to a successful marketing plan, to a successful campaign. Um, and storytelling is really, the basis of it. That's, if you don't have a good story, don't make the video.
Right.
That's a foundational piece, for good content. It's really kind of understanding that story and developing it, and taking time to develop that, before you pull the trigger. It really and start filming. So, but some really good things too can happen when you just go out there and create as well. So, but I think that getting the storytelling right from a foundational standpoint has been really key, in the projects that I've worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes um, to any business, small or large. I think if you're not creating content um, in today's age, you're not going to make it. So, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you have to be putting out content. And I think it starts with the storytelling. You have to lead with that. And, you see a lot of cool things online with how cars are being sold, how even parts are being pushed. And it seems like they're starting with the story to kind of draw people's attention in, pull a little bit on heartstrings. And I was just curious, is that kind of been your approach at Napa when you guys are coming up with marketing plans?
It's been quite interesting because I don't necessarily work on that side of the business where I am generating content. Um, but right now I'm working on more of live events. And really, I think the next piece for me is going to be, well, getting the content, the right content to that event to be able to tell that story to a live audience. And then B is really kind of capture the content that comes out of that event, and use that to gain momentum, in multiple channels as these events progress and pick up. So it's really kind of understanding that, capturing how we're going to capture that content, as we move through these live events. And I know you guys, do quite a bit of that with like on show floors and events as well, correct?
We're at a lot of trade shows throughout the year, creating content, doing a lot of professional photography. Testimonials are kind of our bread and butter. You could talk about your product until you're blue in the face, but if someone else is talking about you and just saying how it's helped, transform their business or whatever it is, it goes way further. It's like a Google review. The first thing you do when you're going out to eat or you're looking to buy something is you go on Google and you type in that product or that service and you're like, what are people saying? So I think testimonials in today's age are huge. And I don't think enough people are doing them. But it sounds like even though you're not creating the content, you know the importance of it. And like you said, you have some shows coming up, and like putting that out there, putting out the right content is very important.
It's important for like pre-marketing, during the show, post event, just making that live event live longer than that actual day is is really important. Um, and the other piece too is really kind of understanding the outcomes of the event, and the best way to do that is through a video. It is through photography and stills, and really kind of communicating what made this so special, or how do we make this better moving forward. I think testimonials is so important, because it is that human interaction. It is that their experience with your brand and your company that's so important, um, that ultimately from a marketing perspective leads to more conversions when you have great testimonials.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit the head right on the nail, or the nail right on the head. Said it backwards. Um, So my next question goes towards the side of AI because everything's shifting in that direction. At least on our side, because we do a lot of marketing for the clients we create video for. I was wondering how that's translating on your side in the automotive industry. Like, are you seeing you guys like accepting it, using it more, embracing it? Because I feel like if you don't, like a lot of clients or a lot of companies aren't are gonna not be with us 5 years down the road if they don't embrace it.
I think the people who understand AI and are using it for productivity purposes, and really kind of using it to streamline their workflows ultimately makes you a really successful employee. Because again, it's like having the toolbox and understanding how to use the tools in an appropriate way to really communicate, but just make your work better. I don't think it'll ever really replace humans and our intellect, but I do think understanding what the capabilities are and using it to make you more efficient makes you, you know, make you a better resource, And I think you're right that it is going to be 5-10 years down the line. If you're a slow adopter, it's going to make it really difficult to catch up with the speed things are moving. Very much like the internet, the telephone, the printing press. There's been all these major shifts in technology that have changed the way we work and communicate. Gosh, I mean, over millennia. So it's understanding the impacts of this and taking advantage of taking what you like and leaving the rest and making the best of what you can.
Yeah, I think you're right on, you know, 100% of that. You know, I think a lot of people are scared that AI is going to come take their job, but like you said, I think it's a tool that we're going to use to just make ourselves better and kind of streamline whatever we're doing. At least that's what we're doing on our end. When I saw that you could type in a keyword and it will generate a video, I was like, oh, like my job's gone. Like, but we're not at that point yet. And I think it's going to be a little bit. I think people still are going to need human beings, at least to tell a story. So I think people need to start embracing it because it's a very powerful tool and it's just where everything is headed. And I was curious to see your take on it, and you kind of had the same like thinking that I do with it.
I don't think it'll replace humans who can use it, and understand that tool and scale with
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. I have a close friend of mine who they are starting to really kind of coach companies on AI and help them understand how to use it appropriately and scale it and focus on that productivity piece. And I've been on calls with them just to understand how they're coaching people through it, and then testing it on my own to see how it can make my life better, and speed things up, or help me understand the decision making process as what's available. I don't know. I've just been having a lot of fun with it, especially chat GPT on my own. Really understanding what's out there, and how to use this tool. So
ChatGTP is amazing. I mean, you could just formulate a sentence you want to like put into an email, and you're like, fix this, and it will like in like a matter of seconds just rewrite your email or anything you're trying to do. So it's very convenient. It's very time saving, and I think that's how most people are using it. But the it's endless in its possibilities. So I'm excited to see in the next. I mean, I feel like every week, it's getting more powerful. So I'm excited to see it in the next year, what it can do.
what I'm so excited about too is like, yeah, you're writing that email and it's like, okay, help me out. And then it's like, okay, well, I need ChatGPT. Give me 5 ideas of how I can, you know, activate this in real life and it just keeps kind of learning with what you've input, which has been, I'm like, ooh, this gets really exciting. Or like, help me prioritize these outcomes. And I'm kind of using it like a brainstorming partner.
Yeah, it's been fun. I kind of wanted to go back to your switch from the printing industry to where you're at now. What advice would you give someone who's looking to switch industries? Because I feel like you were so embedded in the printing world. You were at the trade shows. I saw you very active on LinkedIn. Um, like how was that transition, and what advice would you give to someone looking to transition?
That's a really good question because I was really embedded at Walton Press in the printing industry, and I absolutely loved that and still do. Um, I would say it was a if somebody's looking to make a transition, um, what helped me the most, honestly, was I knew I wanted to make that transition eventually. And I brought in an outside resource and a coach to kind of help me break through some of that mentality that I had, and really push myself outside of my comfort zone to get into automotive, and really kind of bringing in an outside resource to highlight and help me understand what my experience was and then how to reframe it into the automotive industry. I sometimes I wish I could do it all by myself, but I think I get a clear picture when I have somebody who I'm working with and who can kind of see maybe my strengths and my weaknesses and help me, um, coach me through that really to make that leap, which was really important.
I think some people don't know how to ask for help, and it's awesome to hear that you were seeking advice. And if you don't know something, go look for the answer, and that's exactly what you did. So that's a perfect way of kind of putting it. That's great advice to anyone who's listening, I think.
And two, I know, I mean, she was extremely helpful, and I've had really wonderful mentors through my career. And I think where I'm at right now is seeking those mentors, but also becoming that mentor to somebody else, who's a little bit coming up through their career and being able to coach them, and give back what's been given to me. So
That's awesome. So I just kind of wanted to end our talk with any exciting news, any exciting projects that Napa Auto Parts might be coming up in the next year. Like what's going on? What can people look forward to seeing?
yeah, oh my goodness. Well, I got to be real careful about what I say here, but we're launching some really cool product lines, which I'm very excited about. And then also some really big news that we announced at the Performance Racing Industry Show, PRI, is we are the official auto parts store of the NHRA. So we have a new partnership this year with NHRA. Very exciting news.
Are you at any of the events? Are you at like do you get to go to races and get to see like any of the cars in action?
Yes, I will be at some select races this
Okay.
year. Yeah, very excited. And we're working with Ron Capps, who's a funny car driver, and we've sponsored his car for many, many years. So yeah, we'll get to see him race quite a bit. It's going to be a great year.
That's so cool. Well, I want to thank you very much for being a guest on the Howell Studios podcast. It was great getting to talk to you, getting some of your insight into the automotive industry, and I'm excited to see all the awesome things you're going to do in the next year. So, once again, thank you so much, Anna, for taking time and talking with me today.
Thank you so much, Zach. I've enjoyed it and look forward to seeing more from Hal Studios.
Awesome. Thank you so much.